Welcome to the Gay Catholic Hour, a program of news, entertainment, healing, and affirmation brought to you by Dignity New York, an organization serving marginalized Catholics since 1972.
The women and men of Dignity want you to feel right at home, no matter what your sexual orientation, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, or straight.
We are all God's children.
Happy New Year! This is Kathy Carter for the Gay Catholic Hour.
And happy Epiphany. I'm Chris Capiello. Kathy and I will be hosting tonight's show, our first show in 1997.
You know, Chris, I read somewhere that January is named after the Roman deity of the new year, Janus. He has two heads, so he can look into the past and the future at the same time.
A double header, huh? Well, that's what we'll be doing tonight. We'll be looking back at some of the activities that Dignity New York was involved in 1996.
And looking forward to some of the things we have lined up for 1997.
So on this cold winter night, snuggle up with a loved one.
And if you don't have a loved one, you'll always have us.
It's beginning to sound like the Robin Bird Show. Maybe we better get started.
Before you get into trouble.
Me?
Sister Gracie is watching from the green room.
Let's get started. 1996 was a landmark year for our Dignity New York chapter. We began taping for the Gay Catholic Hour in February with a visit to the studio of Dignity member Gail Spiegel. Gail was the designer of our quilt panel. She put in a lot of hard work, assisted by members of our community during numerous sewing bees.
At a special Mass last February, the quilt panel was blessed by Father Charlie McCarran and members of the community, then received by members of the Name Project by being folded into a panel already a part of the completed quilt.
The panel, a cross on a field of silk, was covered with doves representing members of our Dignity community who have died of AIDS. Each dove had an individual's name written on it.
In October, Columbus Day weekend, the entire quilt was on display on the mall in Washington, D.C. Our chapter in Washington invited us down to see our new quilt panel on public display for the first time with all the other panels. It is a reminder to us of all of our loved ones who have died and the enormity of the devastation that this disease has caused across the country.
We keep those who have died in our memory with symbols like the quilt. As huge as the quilt is, stretching from the Washington Monument to the Capitol building, it only represents a small percentage of the people who have died or been affected.
And reminds us of the urgency for a cure and the need for compassion and support for those living with AIDS.
Every month, Dignity New York prepares a special Sunday dinner for Bailey House, a residence for people with AIDS.
Last March, our roving reporter Will Berger visited Bailey House with our camera crew.
And our culinary crew.
Julia Childs, each and every one.
For a Mexican feast with chili for a crowd, Mexicali corn, and all the trimmings.
As you can see, when the Gay Catholic Hour first visited in March, the dining room was under construction. It was a mess. We had to serve the food to the residents downstairs in the office, and they had to take their meals back to their rooms. Things are much better now.
Last month, we accompanied our wannabe Julia Childs and Martha Stewarts to cook a Christmas dinner of roast beef, mashed potatoes and gravy, turnips, broccoli, apple brown Betty, and some of the best brownies we ever tasted. We were delighted at the transformation which had taken place at Bailey House. The dining room had been completed during the summer, and the residents are now able to break bread together in a more comfortable setting.
When I first came here and condoms entered the picture, I giggled. I thought it was a very funny thing for this woman to be doing. I no longer find it funny. While I'm working with them, I feel that I'm saving lives.
Call 1-800-AIDS-NYC.
Last St. Patrick's Day, we attended a lavender and green party in Queens with Dignity member Brendan Fay and members of the Irish lesbian and gay community.
The Irish Lesbian and Gay Organization was once again prohibited from marching in the St. Patrick's Day parade. Will Berger covered their protest at the beginning of the parade and afterwards spoke to several people on the street about their reactions.
What was the reaction to you and the sign?
I found that I got more reactions from young males who felt threatened by the sign and were the ones who called me dyke, and got applause from older females and younger females, even when I was standing in front of FAO Schwartz waiting for my friends to come out from shopping.
You ever seen the movie Clueless? Yeah. And they refer to homosexuals as Oscar Wilde reading, and like, I'm not homosexual, but Oscar Wilde fan. I'm an Oscar Wilde fan. I think that got to me. That got to me.
One of the big issues in 1996 was the controversy over gay marriage. Everyone seemed to have an opinion, from Bill Clinton to our own Brendan Fay, who is never at a loss for words.
I think this is but the next step in a struggle, and Dignity, of course, as gay and lesbian Catholics, we are making our own major contribution to this whole struggle, because let's call it, in the political world, it's somewhat new. But the most amazing thing is, in Dignity, for over 25 years, lesbian and gay couples have had their unions blessed, their friendships honored, their love relationships respected and blessed here in this community, this radical community of love.
One more thing. Will you marry me?
Well, of course, I'm looking forward to the day when I'll be ready to marry you. Right now, I'm just busy being in a relationship and watching that grow, and our love for one another grow.
A couple from our Dignity New York family celebrated the blessing of their union this summer with a special liturgy followed by a reception.
Chris, I believe that any gay or lesbian couple in a committed relationship should have the same protection under law, insurance benefits, and financial security as a heterosexual couple. Anything less is discrimination.
I agree, but it'll be a long road ahead, given the homophobia, apathy, and ignorance that we face from so many elected officials and church leaders. We are making progress, though. Many corporations are slowly coming around and granting benefits to same-sex domestic partners. In fact, we had a first this August in the United States.
You mean that case in Oregon?
Bingo!
Don't say that word. I'm getting all excited. You know how we Catholics are.
Judge Stephen L. Gallagher of the Multnomah County Circuit Court ruled that the Oregon Health Sciences University in Portland had discriminated against 3 gay and lesbian employees by denying benefits to their same-sex domestic partners.
Bravo, Judge Gallagher.
Homosexuality is moral perversion and is always wrong. God hates homosexuality.
Homosexuality is an abomination. The practices of these people is appalling. It is a pathology. It is a sickness.
A lot of us are sick and tired of all of the pretenses of injured innocence. They are not innocent.
It is estimated that 30% of teenage suicide victims are gay or lesbian.
Hola, Senor Chris.
Sister Gracie, where did you come from?
Mexico. I was there last month for the Feast of Guadalupe. It was estupendo.
Well, that's wonderful, but what I meant was, where's Kathy?
Oh, all that chili for a crowd and Mexicali corn talk was making her hungry. She went down for some takeout. I'll fill in till she gets back.
Oh, that should be interesting. Sister Gracie, one of the important things that we've wanted to show our public access friends is how Dignity is like an extended family. We celebrate our loving relationships with union blessings.
Not real weddings.
They're called union blessings, and it's our way of affirming our loving relationships before God and our community. It's very important.
Okay, I won't argue with you. I'm still in the holiday mood. What else have you got to show me?
Well, we had a christening this past year. Dignity members Bernard and Emily brought Megan, their newborn infant, to church.
Beautiful baby. And so,
like any family, like the small faith community that we are, we celebrate, as much as we can, all of the sacraments. We are there for all of the big rites of passage in a Catholic's life. We even celebrated the 25th anniversary of the ordination of one of our longtime members, Bernard Lynch, who now lives in London. On November 30th, he returned to New York to celebrate an anniversary mass at St. Paul's Chapel on the grounds of Columbia University. The beautiful music was provided by Diva Gray, who sang sacred arias and spirituals. The mass and reception which followed were well attended by current and former members of Dignity New York, and by friends of Father Bernard from as far away as Scotland.
Seems like you guys are always partying.
Well, Monsignor Gracie,
He remembers.
our brotherhood and sisterhood are very important to our sense of community. In fact, it was a very moving moment for us in August when longtime member Ed Dwyer retired and moved away from New York. We had, yes, Sister Gracie, another party for his going away, so we could express to him how much his presence and participation in our community over the years has meant to all of us. We were sorry to say goodbye, but he promised he would visit when he could.
Like I said, any excuse for a party.
Well, that was nothing like the celebrations we had last June. First, the Defenders, our outreach group to the leather community.
Your what?
They treated us to a barbecue at the church one Sunday afternoon. Then there was our Gay Pride liturgy at the Church of St. Mary the Virgin. And of course, the Gay Pride parade down Fifth Avenue to Greenwich Village.
I thought the Little Sisters of Hoboken knew how to party.
And in September, we had our annual picnic in Seacliff, Long Island, where we gave Tom Saporita our Volunteer of the Year award.
For his Mexicali corn? Doesn't anyone eat Vichyssoise anymore?
If I'm going to have sex, it's going to be protected. And if it's not going to be protected, it's not going to be sex. I will talk about sex.
I thought, I can't let this conversation drop here.
We have to talk about sex.
There's no reason to be scared.
It's going to come up. If you don't practice safe sex and I do, then we are not made for each other, honey. It's not that hard to get those words out.
I'll tell you.
Initiate it. I'm HIV negative and I intend to stay that way.
Respect yourself, protect yourself.
Hi, Chris, Sister Gracie. Chinese, anyone? No, thanks. I'm going to be heading out for Mexican food at Mary Ann's. Maybe a margarita. Say goodnight, Sister Gracie.
Good night, Sister Gracie. The veggie burgers are great at the Chelsea Gallery.
And what about the food at our annual dinner? Yum.
At the Community Bar and Grill in Chelsea? Yes. Will Berger, our roving reporter, covered that for us.
I'd like to tell you about an event we had Monday, October 28th. We held the annual Dignity Anniversary Dinner at the Community Bar and Grill here in Chelsea. And I wish we could have filmed at that event, but sad to say we cannot film at these events even now in 1996. That's a sad indictment on the church, state, and business community we live in. But I'll tell you about it because it was really exciting. First of all, the Community Bar and Grill here on 7th Avenue and 22nd was just terrific. I highly recommend it, and thanks to the crew there and my friend Rupert, the bartender. Nice to see you in Manhattan. And this year, the dinner was notable for the attendance of a lot of visiting dignitaries outside of the Dignity community. We had people from Congregation Beth Simchat Torah, the Church of St. Paul the Apostle, the Lavender and Green Alliance. Judge Paul Feynman was a guest this year, and that was nice to see him. We didn't see anybody from the Chancery, but maybe their invitation got lost in the mail. Maybe next year. The centerpiece of the dinner this year is always the presentation of our Gormley Award, the award we give to an exceptional member of the community in or outside of Dignity every year. And this year's recipient was none other than Brendan Fay. And you have probably heard of Brendan. We've talked to him on this show before. Brendan's commitment to the community has been seen in almost every area, like ACT UP, Irish AIDS Outreach, Lavender and Green Alliance, also Pax Christi, as well as Dignity. And his relentless, and I mean relentless, if you know Brendan, you'll agree with me, devotion to social justice extends to all people. And Brendan has been instrumental in increasing awareness of non-gay specific issues within the gay and lesbian community. It's one of his most important roles here, such as the death penalty and military spending, two issues that he's been very involved in. Brendan cited his various deeds as acts of faith, which were engendered by his involvement in Dignity. And I think that's a point I'd like to stress to many cynics out there who feel that they're perhaps too radical to be Catholic. I think Brendan is a good example for all of us. And he is a role model for all of us in the gay community, and he even found time to quote Oscar Wilde, so you can imagine how happy that made me. We want to thank Tom Saporita and Walter Wade for organizing this event, and no, we did not eat chili for a crowd this time, I'm sorry to say. Next year, Dignity's 25th anniversary dinner is really going to be quite an extraordinary event. I think we've booked the Rockettes by this point, but there's going to be an archival retrospective of the 25-year history of Dignity. That ought to be real interesting. We're trying to reach people from over the years that maybe have moved away, and look to this show for more information on that. We'll keep you posted. Until then, William Berger for the Gay Catholic Hour. Thank you.
What? No pictures of the food?
No, but we'll have plenty of chances for food and fellowship in 1997. We'll be celebrating Dignity New York's 25th anniversary throughout 1997 with brunches, potluck suppers, dinners, and other special events. I think the first one's planned for Mardi Gras. The anniversary committee will keep us posted.
I've heard through the grapevine that there are a few surprises fermenting.
For our Gay Pride celebrations in June of 1997. It should be a vintage year for Dignity New York.
Our AIDS ministry provided Christmas parties for Bailey House and the HIV floor at St. Clair's Hospital last month.
It was a lot of fun for everyone. First was the Christmas party at Bailey House on Friday the 13th. Refreshments were served in the dining room, and Santa made a special appearance to distribute gifts to the residents.
On December 19th, Ed Fitzgerald, John Dines, and other volunteers from Dignity held a party for the AIDS patients at St. Clair's. Again, Santa showed up, and special trips were made to the rooms of patients who were unable to attend the party in the lounge.
These holiday visits and monthly visits are very rewarding and fun for everyone who participates. In fact, our AIDS ministry is expanding its services this month to include the AIDS floor at Cabrini Hospital. On January 19th, a group of volunteers will be going there to serve high tea in their lounge.
It's a lot of fun and very important for the patients. Anyone who'd like to help can call the Dignity office at 212-627-6488. That's 212-627-6488. We'll show the number again on the screen at the end of the show.
In November, we had a visit from poet Tom O'Neill, who read us excerpts from his book, Sex with God.
Oh yeah, Sister Gracie really liked that.
Well, as a matter of fact, she did, Kathy. And Tom has a couple more poems for us tonight.
The book is divided into two sections, but the first section ends with a couple of postscripts. The first one, a postscript to the reader. You can't have sex with God, dummy, because his boyfriend, John the Baptist, wouldn't permit it. Either would Mrs. Christ, née Magdalene, who has enough problems. Postscript. Sorry, Savior, for that last little joke. We've both been rather rough on each other. But here's a proposition. You give me and Brian our own begotten son, and you can be our centerfold man of the year. I had a sacrilegious dream the other night that you fed us the Holy Eucharist under a sun-filled dome while the Holy See watched on, horrified, but suddenly saw the light. It will be on that day, Redeemer, that you finally throw open the closet doors like prison gates along Castro Street, and your monks will step out, squinting at the sun, their chains dropping off them like dirty condoms onto the stones. Together then, we will all swim baby butt naked through that shining eye to redemption's shore, and Brian and I will be holding up our newborn son, glorious, godlike, into that light for your kiss. Brian died of AIDS in 1994, and this book, to a large degree, is our love story, interspersed with poems a little more general about our mutual struggle with religion. But soon after his death, I took the urn home from the funeral home and wrote this. There's a reference here, by the way, to a very famous carving on the doors of St. Peter's in Rome of something that baffles church historians today, which is of two satyrs with erect penises at play. Judgment Day. Spying the urn across the room at dusk, I wonder, in a world of such dragons, why do I stalk the church? Is it because it stalks satyrs at play, a carving on the bolted doors of St. Peter's that recalls a time when the satyrs' stiff pricks pointed heavenward? Or because Cardinal Spellman once swished at those drag queen fetes at the Plaza Hotel with J. Edgar Hoover, then, back at the cathedral, slapped his limp wrists at fairies who craved the body of Christ? And does it matter? Will the Catholic Jesus, dressed in a radiant Christian Dior gold gown, really meet me on Judgment Day when I am finally ravished from AIDS and say, "It's okay, kid. Actually, I'm proud of you. At least you didn't commit one mortal sin. At least you didn't wear a condom." Letter to heaven. Keeping the faith is hard in a ruined Eden, with a list of hardships begins so with A.
So, Kathy, we've already talked about several new programs and special events that Dignity New York has in store for 1997. Have we missed anything?
This coming Sunday,
Yes.
several Dignity members are involved in the Anti-Violence Project in an important rally on Sunday, January 12th in Brooklyn. Charles Hines, the Brooklyn District Attorney, is seeking the death penalty against Michael Shane Hale, a gay man accused of murdering his lover. He's the first man to face the death penalty in New York City since the laws were changed. According to members of our community who have followed the case, homophobia seems to be a major factor in the DA's decision. Buses will be leaving the Lesbian and Gay Community Center on Sunday at noon. Anyone interested in joining can call the Anti-Violence Project at 212-807-6761.
St. Joseph's Church in Greenwich Village is offering another lecture in its Millennium Series on January 23rd at 7:30. Eugene Laverdiere from the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago will give a talk called Proclaiming the Death of the Lord. The lecture is free, and St. Joseph's is located at 371 6th Avenue. For more information, call them at 212-741-1274. That's 212-741-1274.
The Gay Catholic Hour has extended an invitation to group members of the Spiritual Rainbow Coalition to visit our program each month and tell us a little bit about their organizations.
The Spiritual Rainbow Coalition is made up of many varied groups serving the diverse spiritual needs of New York's gay and lesbian community: Jewish, Buddhist, Greek Orthodox, Protestant, neo-pagan.
One at a time, Chris, one at a time. Anyway, beginning in February, we hope to have one guest a month visit the show and tell us a little bit about what sort of services and programs their group offers.
We're also working on a public service announcement with the Spiritual Rainbow Coalition, and we hope to have that ready for airing this spring.
Since 1986, the Vatican has really stepped up its attacks against gay and lesbian people, and gay and lesbian Catholics in particular, starting with a letter that we call Ratzinger 1 that was entitled A Letter on the Pastoral Care of Homosexual Persons, that came out on Halloween of 1986. That letter just set back Catholic theology on homosexuality by years, by decades. What had been considered morally neutral prior to this letter, a homosexual orientation, was now labeled as, quote, intrinsically disordered. In 1992, the Vatican repeated a lot of the information that was in the 1986 letter and added to it an instruction to United States Catholic bishops that it was their duty to oppose gay and lesbian civil rights legislation or referenda in their communities. Again, a very damaging message from our church at a time when people were looking for some true leadership and some compassion and open ministry. Some bishops are really struggling with what that letter said, and they're not really sure that it's the direction that they should be taking, and we're really glad of that, about that struggle. After the 1992 Civil Rights Letter, then Dignity USA President Kevin Caligari flew to Rome and held a press conference out in the square in front of the Vatican, denouncing this letter, talking about what it would mean for gay and lesbian people, that we would lose our jobs, that we would lose our housing, that we could have children taken away from us. And then, in a gesture of non-reception of the document, he nailed it back to the Vatican door. It was such a wonderful moment for us, because we could really claim our power and say, this letter does not speak truth to us. We as a people do not receive it.
Remember, Dignity New York meets every Sunday evening. Mass begins at 7:30 and it's followed by a social.
We meet at St. John's in the Village on the corner of Waverly and West 11th Street, just west of 7th Avenue. For more information, call the number on the screen.
And if you can't find a pencil, don't panic. We're listed in the book under Dignity New York.
Well, that's it for tonight's Gay Catholic Hour. Be sure to tune in the first Tuesday of every month, same time, same station.
So until next time, be proud you're Catholic.
And be proud you're gay. So long. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.